So I was, referring to the brilliant media coverage of today's budget, be presented by our honorable finance minister Muhammad Aurangzeb, and this distinguished economist, business people, president chamber of commerce. So I mean, there are very distinguished people who are commenting on the budget, especially Salman Shah, distinguished economist. I mean, with every, I mean, he's known internationally, and he has a great comment. He would say that GDP is kind of stagnant. I mean, economic activity. What he was saying was talking about GDP per capita, GDP divided by population. I have already mentioned that the most relevant accounting matrix for finance ministries are real GDP, but nominal GDP divided by inflation rate or prices. And there is another kind of a GDP. GDP in terms of dollars, and that's a real GDP because it already discounts for exchange rate. So what is exactly this all about GDP? I mean, GDP growth rate and GDP. It is kind of a convergence hypothesis. What actually is that GDP is the level of output being produced in an economy. And for developed country, they have already measured really through GDP per capita will have a certain income levels much higher than GDP per capita among middle income countries and developing countries like Pakistan. So GDP per capita is kind of a reference point for convergence hypothesis that we want to improve quality of life for every Pakistani. So we need to increase the level of output or financial sector. So important that I have suggested and did my early research on financial sector, stock markets and banking sector. So finance is very important. But again, yes, exactly. Everybody knows. I mean, it's a nominal explanation to real economic activity, measured through prices or monetary means. So what really matters is what you have produced. But then, finance can do wonders. I mean, look at what Pakistan has achieved, what the world has achieved. James Webb Telescope would be made with $10 billion and could really unravel secrets of the universe and guiding the future scientific society for both modern world as well as developing world. Hubble telescope did the same thing, while at the same time 10 billion rupees, Pakistani GDP is more than $44 billion. So I mean, you can imagine, how money plays such a key role. So it's like convergence hypothesis. So we have to grow at a decent rate, which is a bit more than 4%, 5%, 6% annually, to then follow the example of China, India, or East Asia, to then within let's say 10 years become a high income country or middle income country, while measured through GDP per capita, where we would say that on average quality of life of every Pakistani has increased, but then population growth rate might be a constraint. And so what we should do is we should educate the youth. This youth well needs to be educated, needs to be universities are key for that, as well as formal schooling and formal educational institutions and higher education, as well as the Department of Education, while having ensuring that they have opportunities to do sports and then represent healthy activity while maintain their health through facilitation, whereby the household, whatever poor household or rich household could have significant funds or would have government support to then maintain high standard for the lifestyle, quality of life of the children, educating them, arranging for their health, giving them opportunities to learn and participation in sports. So, this is kind of an equation, but in 1 year you cannot achieve that. For an incumbent government, the biggest challenge for Pakistan was macroeconomic stability and controlling for inflation, and that it has done. And now, again, playing with the numbers, inflation rate is reduced, and most probably with stability, exchange rate would be stable as well. In terms of dollars, rupee in terms of dollars. So what is really happening in Pakistan is that most probably the next budget would really be awesome if we have political stability and the government needs to complete its 5-year terms, while at the same time expecting that it would be